Good morning and welcome to Thursday, May 16th, 2024 meeting of the Trustees of Public Burial Grounds Committee meeting. I now call the meeting to order. Please be advised that FHTV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now, state their name and address. Seeing none, at this time I ask that all electronic devices be placed in silent mode. So we'll conduct the roll call. I'll read your name, just say present. Andy Hawthorne.
Present.
Michelle Shibarasi is absent. George Marajanian.
Present.
And Chair Judith Perla is here. The meeting is starting at 9:13 a.m. Others present are Nick Erickson, DPW Commissioner, and Jacqueline Poria, Superintendent of the Cemetery. I see no one remote, and I see no one here to speak at the public forum. Before we start the meeting, I do have an announcement. The trustees of Fitchburg Public Burial Grounds are asking anyone and everyone for your help in our fundraising efforts to continue the process of the repairs and renovations to our Forest Hill Abbey mausoleum. This abbey has stood for over 100 years and it is in disrepair and needs our help. The city of Fitchburg has appropriated to date $175,000 to start the repairs. Answer Advisory has been hired as the project manager and Spencer Preservation Group has been hired as the design team. The Spencer Group has been working at the mausoleum since last winter. They are now in the process of developing their proposed scope specifications, design documents, and this phase of securing the documents will cost approximately $380,000. At this time, the trustees have been told this project will be put on hold as the city has no money to continue to fund our project. This mausoleum needs to be funded in any way it can. We need to at least secure these documents and most importantly, to secure the roof of the mausoleum to stop the water damage from continuing to destroy the interior of the mausoleum. This final resting place for our citizens has 387 entombed there, including 2 World War I veterans, 2 Civil War veterans, along with Marcus Allen Coolidge, mayor of Fitchburg in 1916, the Wallace family of the Wallace Paper Mill, the Civic Center, and the Wallace Library, David M. Dillon of the D.M. Boiler Works, Arthur H. Lowe, one of the first families to be buried in the mausoleum, and president of the New England Cotton Manufacturers Association, as well as treasurer of Park Hill Manufacturing Company, just to name a few. We are appealing to the public and to the foundations and corporations who so graciously help fund other projects in our city to consider a donation to the continued restoration process of this historic building. Please reach out to Jacqueline Poria, Superintendent of the Cemetery, or myself, Judith Perla, Chair of the Trustees of Fitchburg Public Burial Grounds. Thank you. Okay. So, on to the agenda. Yeah, Andy.
Public can reach out to any one of us, right?
Yes, the public can reach out to any of the trustees, Andrew Hawthorne and George Marajanian, Michelle Shibarasi. You can call the city clerk's office and they will forward our emails to you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, we'll continue with the agenda. So I have the first on the agenda is an update on the Forest Hill Abbey project. I don't have anything to report unless you spoke with Petros, Nick.
I haven't spoken with him since our last meeting, so it sounds like there was some billing questions that they had. Jacqueline took care of it. So I haven't heard anything else beyond that, though.
Billing questions as far as what?
I think there was a slight overage that we needed to pay, so Jacqueline just needed to identify a source.
Okay, yeah, that's through the auditor's department, correct? I mean, either comes out of your account, or how does that work?
Yeah, it comes out of the mausoleum.
Okay. I did email him, I don't think I have it with me, but I did email him prior to ask him if he, not to forget that, you know, we have this meeting and that he was supposed to get a little bit more, I should say, hard numbers, the dollar figure, because that 380,000 was kind of like a guesstimate, was the soft number. And he was going to press with the Spencer Group. He was supposed to meet with them the day that I sent the email to him. He was supposed to meet with them that morning and talk to them about that. And I did not hear back from him. So last night I texted him again because I wanted to make sure that I didn't know if he was going to be present at our meeting or if he was going to come virtual. But he said that he's on maternity leave. He just had a new baby girl. And so he hasn't really been in the office, I guess. So he said he would try to work on it, but I don't have any updates for us for today. Unless you have anything, Jacqueline. Did he speak to you about anything?
No,
Okay,
no, of course, I believe he was gonna connect with the Spencer Group and, come up with numbers, but there's
Right.
probably a little delay because it is a new baby.
so just to have a little transparency about the cost factor, in the opening announcement that I made, we were given roughly a soft figure of 300,000 to 380,000 to secure the documents. And it was my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that once we secure those documents, we could possibly hold our project at that point and pick it up later if there's funding. And then there was mention of maybe 1.5 million to secure just the roof.
Right.
Right, okay,
Yeah, the roof and the building envelope, so
Yeah.
whatever else is needed on the outside to stop the water from getting.
coming in, okay, so that's where we're standing right now, and that's why we're trying to fundraise for donations or anything, and I'll speak more of that as we get further on into the agenda. So the second item on the agenda was state delegation.
So that's on my to-do list still, falls on my court in that one.
Don't worry about it, I took care of it.
You already sent it out?
Yes, I did.
Good. So I did want to update you too.
Okay, hold on, let me get the stuff out of the way, and then we'll continue. Yeah, go ahead.
We had an opportunity to work with Senator Trahan
Oh,
on earmark requests.
Yeah.
So we met with one of her staff members and walked through a list of city projects, including the Mausoleum project and the expansion across the street of Forest Hill. And we basically walked through each project and they gave us their opinion on their priorities within that list of projects. And unfortunately, they didn't want any sort of memorial type projects, so no cemetery related projects. So the only earmark that they put forth out of the list of 10 or so projects that we gave them was sidewalks and lighting upgrades on Water Street. So obviously that doesn't help the Mausoleum at all.
so they out and out said no, what?
It was a no on the congressionally directed spending earmarks that Lori Trahan's office is working.
Oh, thank you, Congresswoman.
So I think they were looking for something that would help their public relations, like a feel good project that they could have.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I did email out, as I indicated last meeting or two ago. And I'm gonna combine number 3, which is the email to the city clerk, not city clerk, city solicitor, into this number 2
Yeah, it's a good question.
letters to the delegation.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Andy, Chair.
Just on the meeting with Senator
Sure.
Trahan's staff. My question is, that's just one representative.
Right.
Is this gonna be the feeling, do you think, that the committee think of any representative that we went to?
I can answer that on my next statement to you about the next.
Deleted.
Yeah, you're leading right into my question. Just to be clear for my notes, so you met with a representative of,
Yeah, his name is Jake.
okay,
I'm drawing a blank on his last
That's okay.
name, but he works for Lori Trahan's
Okay.
office.
so you sat with him personally,
We talked to him on Zoom, so me,
Okay.
Liz, and him talked to him on Zoom.
and who's the we, you and who? The
Me,
mayor?
Liz Murphy,
Okay,
and Jake all met. And we walked through a number of different projects.
okay. All right, I just want to make sure I have it in my notes. Okay, so to answer your question, Andy, so a couple things have happened since we were here last. I emailed the solicitor on clarification for the fundraising for the trustees. I did not hear back from her. I emailed again. I got no response. I emailed Counselor Walsh, Beth Walsh. I actually emailed her and met with her at the senior center to talk to her about funding through Senator Cronin's office, who's the senator
Mhm.
for our district. And we had a lengthy discussion, and I sent her all the documents. We sent Jacqueline, helped me email the scope of work, all the documents we have, all the upgrades, what they found, what the Spencer Group found, and all the information they gave us at our last meeting. And quite frankly, I did send a letter out to to Senator Cronin, and I mailed it, it was emailed out. I waited for your response, Nick, but I think you were on vacation or something, so
Yeah,
I wasn't getting a response from anybody. So I took it upon myself to just send it out. And I'll read it. Dear Senator Cronin, allow me to introduce myself to you. My name is Judith Perla. I sit as chair of the Fitchburg Public Burial Grounds. I, along with the trustees of the public burial grounds, are reaching out to you for aid in securing funding for our Forest Hill Abbey Mausoleum project. We have reached out to Mrs. Beth Walsh, your constituent service director, and she has been given all the documents we have up to this date for your review. I've attached to this email our formal letter to you for funding. This is the email I sent, not the letter. Please take the time to read through it. If you have any questions or concerns, or need any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact us. And this is the letter. We, the trustees of Fitchburg Public Burial Grounds, are requesting your help with this very important issue we are facing with our aging Forest Hill Abbey, known to all in the city of Fitchburg as a mausoleum. Cemeteries serve a sacred space where we honor our departed loved ones and preserve the history and the stories of those who have shaped our communities. Maintaining these spaces requires substantial effort and resources like private funding options, donations from individuals and corporations and foundations that have a vested interest in preservation of local history. Forest Hill Abbey Mausoleum is the historical backbone of our community. Then it goes on to say what I read in the announcement about the 4 veterans who are entombed there, and also the noteworthy people like Marcus Allen Coolidge, who was the mayor of Fitchburg, the Wallace family, the Dillon family, and so on and so forth. We as trustees know the competition for municipal funds are scarce, and preservation has become a low priority for the city. Partnerships, including nonprofits or friends groups, can help this public programming and provide volunteer labor and promote fundraising, but we as trustees have our hands tied, and we've been told we cannot participate in any of these endeavors. There are 2 YouTube videos, one called Deserted Life A Deserted After Death Inside the Crumbling Mausoleum, and another one called The Terrifying Truth About the Abandoned Mausoleums, that shows what happens to mausoleums when they are not maintained. These videos are heartbreaking, to say the least. The trustees are faced with the challenge of preserving the people buried here who have no family left or whose families have moved away. And so is the city of Fitchburg. We are a public cemetery, and the Forest Hill Abbey Mausoleum was built to last decades, and it has for over 100 years. Rich and poor alike are entombed here. We need your help to secure funding for this project, which has already been started with the help of Mayor Di Natale's administration and the appropriation of $175,000. This year, we need to get the roof repaired and stop the water from entering the building and causing more damage. Please help us to obtain funding for this worthy project, which will stand for years to come. Please do not ignore this project, as many have done before you. Any funding help will be greatly appreciated. And I signed our names. So I sent that same letter and email to Senator Cronin. I sent the same letter and email to Representative Kushmarek. Beth got back to me and said, first, on the issue of the solicitor, Beth reached out to Solicitor Mead. She responded to Beth. Then Solicitor Mead sent me an email, which is in lawyer talk. So I couldn't figure it out. I read it 1,000 times. I kind of got the gist of it. I guess it's okay to fundraise and ask for donations. However, we need permission from the mayor. In speaking with Councilor Walsh, I said the mayor was at our meeting and pretty much told us find another source of revenue. So I took that as permission. Now, if you would like me to send a formal request to the mayor, I will do that in an email. That's up to you guys.
I would also in the letter remind her that when she was in attendance with our meeting, she did say, and I'm pretty sure George backed me on this if I'm wrong, all right, something to the effect about, well, she didn't see any problem with us going out trying to solicit, like, if that's the word you want to use, donations for this endeavor. So, yeah, I would mention that in the letter, just for something to be on record.
We have actually a video of her turning to it, so that there's documentation as far as what she said.
That's correct.
Regarding that, yeah.
So I do have a letter drafted. It isn't the request, it hasn't gone out yet to the mayor, so I can change the wording, and that's gonna take up the next number 4, the letter to the mayor. So kind of like all together, this whole process comes together. And this letter, I drafted it and basically saying the same thing. You know, we, the trustees, are requesting funding in the amount of $380,000 to be used to move forward with the Forest Hill Abbey project. As you are aware, the city of Fitchburg has retained Answer Advisory as its OPM, along with the Preservation Architects Spencer Preservation Group. And it just goes on to say that we need this funding for the documents. The next appropriation of funding we're requesting will help bring us to the construction document phase, bidding administration, and construction administration phase. And then I said, since 1971, the Abbey has been in disrepair and has had money put into it for Band-Aid repairs up until now. It's now time to repair and restore this beautiful and gracious building to its former self. It's imperative that the city of Fitchburg, along with the trustees of public burial grounds, complete the renovation and repair of this historic Abbey, blah, blah, blah. As always, we truly appreciate the assistance and support of the mayor's office and city council in this effort to restore the Abbey. So I haven't sent this out yet, so I can reword it if you think it needs rewording or add to it.
Okay, if the mayor, as I expect her to do, give the authority for us to fundraise, you know, for him, we would actually, it would behoove us, we would have to establish a 501c3 to
So,
enhance the solicitation of funds, because without that, you actually, you're at a disadvantage, not being a nonprofit, because people would be more likely to donate if they could actually have it declared as a tax deductible donation. So 501c3 is essential in soliciting funds for this project, yeah.
yeah, so I can answer that again for you. So, in all of this, meeting with, so I'll go back for a minute. So the city solicitor, the response I got from her, I sent to Councilor Walsh, just so that she could look over it. She asked me to send it, and she read through it, and she gathered that it was okay. The solicitor is saying it's all right to fundraise for this particular project. And I lost my train of thought, and that okay, I forgot. Anyway, so then I went to the auditor's office and I spoke with Mrs. Cronin, and she said that any donations that come in for the mausoleum, she will create an account under the cemetery department. And in the note or the memo on a check or whatever, people should put specifically for repairs or renovations of the mausoleum, and that money will go into an account and it'll stay there. And it can't be used for anything else. Then I spoke with, still with Beth Walsh on Senator Cronin's portion of it. And his budget, they were just finalizing the state budget. And so for FY25, there's no money. So to be put on next year's budget, which would be FY26, we have to keep pushing this issue with him to see if maybe we can get somewhere on for the FY26 state budget. Or Senate budget, I should say, Senate, it's not the state, well, it is the state, but.
Well, I have to.
And then, I'm sorry.
I have to assume within the state government, I mean, our legislators must be aware that there is actually an historical commission, a state historical commission in this state. Now, as I understand that the Forest Hill Abbey is not been declared a historical structure.
That's correct.
And that is the one that actually has to be addressed.
Well,
We actually, I think we should deem that an historical structure. You know, I mean, and for that structure not to be declared, identified as an historical structure in the city of Pittsburgh is wrong. This has to be addressed. If this, and there is a historical commission within the state that addresses historical buildings in the state. And I'm sure that there has to be, just like we have locally, we have a Pittsburgh Historical Commission, there's also a state historical commission, which addresses historical structures throughout the state. And I think that if our legislators could actually help us in doing some homework and finding out about the historical commission within the state and what they do for other communities that have historical buildings, you know, and helping them out, because they have been assisted. Other communities have been assisted with their historical structures when they sold their funds in the past. Yeah, I'm sure they have. Yeah.
so,
I don't understand why this mausoleum is not a historical structure.
I can address that for you.
Why?
Okay, so let me just go back a step first and finish on this topic about the state representative Bushmerick and the senator.
Yes.
So Bushmerick's office, I spoke with Rebecca. They did receive all the documentation, and her response to me was the budget was closed for the state representative, and there is no money, same situation. So we need to reach out to Senator, to State Rep Bushmerick's office again for the FY 26 budget. So that's where I got with that. Nowhere.
And when do they close their budgets each year?
When the city it's but this time of year.
This time?
Yeah, same thing. It goes, I'm not sure, she told me, it goes from, their budget goes to this House or Senate, then it goes to the governor or something of that sort. So there's that process, and then Representative Kushmer's budget does the same thing. Beth did say that she would reach out to Lori Trahan's office because there are a lot of grants, federal grants.
Yeah, federal grants.
Okay, so I have not heard back, and I haven't reached out to Beth Walsh to see if she's in fact done that. So that was another thing.
So I have that contact, that guy Jake that works for Lori Trahan.
Okay,
If it helps, I can give you that contact information
Yeah.
and reach out to him.
okay. Give me contact info. Okay, that would be helpful. So that's on the funding issue. And we took care of the mayor, gave us permission. The solicitor also said we have permission. The thing about the solicitor's information also was the fact that she was citing conflict of interest laws in her response to me. This is the solicitor. And when Mrs. Walsh read it, that doesn't apply to us. I mean, we're not trying to fundraise for our personal use, so there shouldn't be any conflict of interest law there, violation I'm talking about, of the conflict of interest law. So that was one thing. So, yeah, Andy.
On the, say we get somebody that donates, contributes, and they send a check to Jacqueline because it sounds like we'll be in charge of the fund while you're at the bar.
It'd be through the cemetery, correct?
The, you said, make sure you note on the check, or somebody said that, this is exclusively for
Yes,
the Mausoleum Abbey.
yes,
But I'm just thinking, say we wanted to reach out to different businesses. The first one that comes to mind, I'll pay him a visit, because I know him, is Dylan Boyle. Now, these companies are gonna do this, but they're gonna want a tax deduction, like we had discussed
Yes.
before.
Yeah.
So, this 501(c)(3 you mentioned,
Yes.
okay, is it impossible for them to get the deduction if we're not part of that, or?
No, we would have to be we would have to be 501(c)(3).
Yeah.
For them to get any kind of a
For
deduction?
them to get any tax.
yeah.
It's-
So to answer your question about the historical, why is the mausoleum not on a historical register? So past trustees
Yeah.
and boards, we have met with the Historical Society. We've met
You mean the local society?
yes. We've also met Jacqueline, myself, and a former trustee, Diane Willett. We've met multiple times with the Historical Commission. And Michelle, who isn't here today, did this, she reached out to the Mass Historical Society. And we've been doing this right along over a number of years. And I agree with you, George, that the building is historical and it was never deemed historical like this building is, okay? For instance, what happened was in 2000, the year 2000, the city of Fitchburg, Office of Planning, did a survey inventory of all its buildings and the Forest Hill Cemetery and all of the cemeteries. And at that time, when they did that survey, the mausoleum was included in Forest Hill Cemetery's inventory, but it wasn't really like broken out as its own entity. And that inventory never went forward. So nothing got put on the historical register. And at the time, we weren't interested in the Abbey, we were interested in Laurel Hill Cemetery because that was falling apart as well and needed a lot of work. And what happened through our conversations with all these different entities, the Mass Historical, local, and our trustee board, was that once you designate a building or an area as historical, it does open you up for funding and grants. However, it does tie your hands with monetary values. Correct me if I'm wrong about this. So for instance, let's say that window needed to be replaced. And if we went out for bid on that window, it was $1,000. If we're a historical building, the historical commission says, no, you can't use that type of a building. You have to use this type of a building. I have a booklet that's this big with all of the do's and don'ts. So that historical window, let's say, is $5,000. So as a group, we opted not to have our Laurel Hill Cemetery placed on a historical record. So we didn't follow through. We can still do all of this,
We'll do that.
but we haven't done it to date. So that's to answer that question. Yes, Jacqueline.
Just to add to
Yeah.
what you were saying,
Yeah.
not only was there concern about the cost with renovations, but I think the main concern is that the paperwork that was filed in 2000 would have to be redone, which means
Right.
we needed to come up with another huge chunk of change to pay somebody to do it.
Yes.
And that's when it got like, we don't have the money to pay to have somebody file that for us, and that's where it stopped.
Just stop.
Yeah, it was purely funding.
Oh, it was a finance, it was a.
Again,
Yeah.
funding, yeah, thank you for that, because I had forgotten about that. Mainly this meeting is about the funding, so a couple of different things happened. So we got it out, all the way around. Now, I listened to the finance committee meeting the other evening, and it was brought to my attention, and I did speak with Mrs. Cronin, the auditor, about this because I took notes about the finance committee meeting. And I was a little upset because, number one, we don't fit into anybody's category, okay, for funding. We don't fit in the economic development category. I think Liz said maybe one thing we could possibly come under with a community funding source. But, you know, we're not, this is gonna sound really horrible, and I don't mean it this way, but I'm just saying, we're not teachers, we're not working with, you know, mental health issues, we're not working, you know, we're not, this mausoleum and these cemeteries don't come under anything. It's not a historic district. It has pretty much no historical value other than it's a 100-year-old building, first of its kind in New England. So we don't fit into any of these slots that people that grant funding or funding, as you found out, would come under, right? But I did find out at that finance committee meeting that the city of Fitchburg is going to loan order $1.4 million for a fire truck because they don't have the funding. Well, I just read today on Facebook that the deficit that was 7.6 million thereabout is down to 4.4 million. So it isn't as bad as everybody thinks it is. And if they can loan out a short-term loan for 1.4 million for a fire truck, why can't we get a short-term loan, say 5 years, for 1.5 million to fix that roof? I mean, I'm not an accountant, but common sense will tell you that there's probably gonna be money left over in this budget, and so I don't wanna keep talking, but I do wanna get my point across here. So I went, not that one. I went to the, Ward 1 meeting, and I said my spiel, as George heard. And Liz Murphy and the economic director and the mayor were there. And I just said, you know, I asked Counselor Schultz to attend our meeting, and he could not do that because he has classes scheduled on Thursday mornings. He may be able to come to our June meeting, so I'll reach out to him again. Because this mausoleum is in his ward.
Yeah.
I live in Ward 1. I'm a trustee, I'm a citizen, I'm a taxpayer. So I felt it was my duty to at least speak out at that meeting. And so I didn't so much as ask a question of the mayor and Liz, but I did say that if they both have told us that we could fundraise somehow. But in what we were talking off camera earlier, yes, I did beg for money. And I'm not ashamed of that, because somebody's got to start this ball rolling, and it's a historical building. And we all know what's going to happen to it if that water keeps getting into that building. So I know it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in the scope of what's going on here, okay?
Mhm.
And for 50-something years, since 1971, we've been trying to repair it through our DPW department. Monty Tech has helped repair some of the steps and some of the marble inside, but it's just not enough. So yes, to get back to your question about the 5013C, we cannot do that. We have to have a friends group, as we had in the past, a friends group. So I reached out to Councilor Cragen, who was gracious enough to meet with me after the Ward 1 meeting. And we started a dialogue. And she is willing to facilitate, and I have her emails back and forth, which I'm not going to enter into our minutes because it's just conversation wise. But she did CC Jacqueline, and I believe some of the other people that are at the Historical Commission. And so her thought process to me was, we, meaning our group, the trustees, we should meet with the Historical Commission, not the Historical, I'm sorry, Historical Society, because there are people there that can help us form a friends group. And then the friends group, once it's formed, can apply for the 503C or however, whatever that's called.
501c3.
Because you're right, both you and Andy, George, you're right. If we should get a $10,000 donation from an individual, they're gonna want to
Yeah.
write off, a tax write-off. That only makes sense. I don't know what the dollar figure is that they need, like a receipt for or whatever, or tax deduction for, but I'm
Any
sure.
donation
Anything.
Oh,
is
any,
tax deductible, but you won't get larger donations without that.
okay. All right, so even if they donated a $5, that's a tax deduction, is what you're saying?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, thank you, I didn't know that, all right, I thought it had to be a certain
No,
dollar,
but you
like
can
over.
lure larger companies.
Yeah.
With that tax deduction.
And then she also suggested that, so she wrote a couple of emails out to the people over at the Historical Commission that she works with. A short-term goal, you know, to gather a group of folks who love history, love Fitchburg, who care about the mausoleum, to brainstorm.
Is there a minimum on these friends group of how many have to participate?
I don't believe you have to have, well, you do have to have, I think, to form the group, and this I don't know for sure, is a president, a treasurer, and maybe a secretary, at least 3 officers. And they could be a name only and, you know, not do the work. We could do the work, like we could do.
Well, we have within the city, a friends group, the library, there's the Friends of the Fitchburg Public Library.
Yeah.
There are other I'm sure there are other organizations.
Yeah, the Friends of Clogs, Yeah. and they wrote a grant for, and received a grant. The Parks Department wrote a grant, and I have that somewhere on my notes,
Crocker Field.
That's right, Friends, Proper Field, also.
That's how they funded the project that just started this week.
Right.
Right, so, and then all of these foundations that are listed on the back of the Historical Society's newsletter, these foundations, business leaders, so the so the Friends group could actually make a phone call or write a letter, or I don't know how you would do it, but
Yeah.
reaching out to these people and just say, you know, we're really strapped for funds, could you like make a donation? We accept anything. So we can't do that. Well, you're shaking your head, so you're saying we as trustees
We
can't.
would not run the group.
Oh, no, we don't run the.
We would not run the group.
No, no.
The president, secretary, treasurer, like
Right.
the treasurer would have to file through the state each year with their, you know, taxes. We do not get involved in that.
Right, yes, that's correct, yes.
That's filed with the Secretary of State.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
File with the state, right?
Yes, and I believe the last Friends group that was organized, you did have the 501c3.
Well, Sally tried to look that up for us.
Yeah.
And she couldn't find it. I don't know how to look that up, but I don't ever remember doing that. Do you remember that we had a 50?
I believe you did.
Okay, well,
I could put a call into Diane and ask her about that.
okay, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
So let's see, Jackie. So basically, so what I'm saying is that I'm going to continue with this information. Any of you that would like to join me, please feel free. I did put up something on Facebook under the Historical Society's post because they're celebrating Historic Preservation Month this
A
year.
week from today.
And we're gonna have,
May 23rd.
if you'd like to join us at the Legislative Affairs Building, there's gonna be a group there. And they're gonna, I think there's some kind of a contest. If you go on the Historical Society web, Facebook page, you can, enter in
Oh, yes.
a historical
They want to
building.
identify the historic
Yes,
sites, or build, whatever.
yes, the building, yeah. And then, but there's gonna be refreshments and things like that. So anybody who's interested that would like to be there, you know, you're welcome to come. One last thing on that is, I did reach out to Barbara and you, as George had indicated. And she was gracious enough to get back to George and I. And she said she'd love to have us on her show, so we're scheduled for June 18th. Jacqueline and I will be there.
Would you like to go, George?
She,
Well, I think you two are the best spokes.
Oh, I think you speak very.
well, George, if you want to come, she did tell me I could have one guest, myself and one guest.
That's why I'm Jacqueline, you and Jacqueline.
And I did ask Jacqueline, only because Jacqueline, you have the history of
Right.
of everything at your fingertips, and my brain doesn't work that great too much. So, but anyway, I did send her the pictures that we had in our presentation to Anne.
Yeah.
And she was able to take them and put them so that we will have something on the monitor to show the way it when it was first built, and then the problems that we're having. So that'll be good. And I think that might be her last show of the season until September. But she was very, very happy to have us there. She didn't know anything about the mausoleum.
See, that's it.
So, George,
She's not alone. There are thousands of others in the city have no idea that a mausoleum exists.
is even there. Yeah. So that is one thing. So we are trying, we are, going forward with this. I am a little disappointed today that I don't have any updates from the Spencer Group. Okay, so,
So if Davos is gonna be out on paternity leave.
Yeah.
I can reach out to, I guess Lynn would probably be the best.
I think Lynn,
best contact.
yeah, so, let's see, Nick.
But I think Davos made it very clear at the last meeting that we putting this on hold, but we would have to be starting all over again.
Well,
It'd be suspending what we have. And then, when we're ready to go, we just actually resume,
yeah, I think what he was speaking about is, or what we were trying to get to was, right now, they're trying to do what they're gathering, the Spencer Preservation Group, is the construction document phase, the bidding administration bid phase, and the construction administration phase, which are estimated costs, so that 300,000 to 380,000 was a soft number. So it could be more, let's hope not, or it could be less. That would be great. So if we can get those documents and then we have to pause,
yeah.
we don't have to go back to step one. Is that my understanding?
Right.
To go to the OPM again and get another group.
We don't want, we
well,
don't wanna do that. No.
Listen, you wanna just take $175,000 and light a match to it, be my guess, but why would somebody do that? That is,
We'll be able to reuse all of the documents that are put together, even the stuff that's been prepared to date, the existing conditions assessment, that's all still very useful.
fine, right, okay, so that's where we'd like
How
to
long
get
will
to.
they hold these documents with the current bid price?
Well, you asked that question at the last meeting, Andy, and he was gonna get us that answer, because remember, we talked about possibly extending the contract is what you had asked. And Petros was gonna find out, and I think Mary Delaney is the other person that would need to tell us that, is that correct?
Yeah, so she'll have to weigh in on whether we can modify the contract documents that we've already signed with Answer and Spencer Group to see if we can just simply extend those out for a certain period of time, or if we'll need to rebid if it sits for too long. She can help weigh in on that.
Okay.
So as long as all the parties are in agreement, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do some sort of a non-monetary change order to just simply extend the deadline.
Well, I just wonder how long of a period before they say, hey, look, we've been patient, but cost of doing business has gone up. So we'd like to, add on an extra 10% or whatever.
Yeah, we might be able to put some wording in the contract as an amendment that says, it'll be on hold for a period of time, and then once activity resumes, subject to renegotiation between the company and the city or something like that.
Yeah, well, I've watched enough of these meetings, and I've been in the city long enough to know that we like to burn money. Sorry, it's like, if you get something going and then all of a sudden it stops, and then you have to go back to step one and start all over again. And it's so slow to begin with. Look at how long we've been talking about this, and it's so slow. We actually got some funding. We actually got some work done. We actually got some documents. And so we were happy to be going forward. So this is why, if we could get some other outside revenue, which is what the mayor had suggested, that we try to fund it some other way, was her words. And people make donations, and we set it aside for this one thing. I mean, I know we probably take us 20 years to get $1 million. I don't know.
Political, see, we cannot allow that mausoleum to deteriorate.
No, we cannot allow it. So,
I mean, the roof has to be addressed, yeah. That is the critical.
we did,
part.
ask Petros also, to find out about tarping it, because I think, Andy, you mentioned that. Could we put some kind of a covering over it to, I mean, you know, if we can't get it done.
And then there's the issue of the asbestos.
Say it again.
The issue of the asbestos, that's the,
That was
that's the
another,
hidden monster that they haven't uncovered yet. But one other question,
yeah,
and this, I'm just curious. That is considered a city building, right? The
it
mausoleum.
is, yes.
Then how come we're the only department, we'll say, or whatever you want to call us, that is addressing this? Why haven't we got they hired a guy, I know that he's no longer with us, to take care of city buildings. And so you've got a building department and whatever. Why are we the only ones? It's a city building that are trying, you know, our damnedest to get this all, you know, resolved. Why is it the city building department or the city, you know, I mean, if this was this building here, say, you know, and the roof was leaking, my God, you know, they'd be here next week. You know, but I'm just saying, it's a city building. We insured it through the city and all that, so why is the cemetery department relying on donations? We have to rely, you know, now we have to go out, you know, which is great that we can do it. But I'm just, you know, I was thinking, that, you know, if it's a city building, why don't they fix
It
it?
should be the city's responsibility.
Yeah,
So would you like to answer that question, Mr. Commissioner?
Well, it's really no different than how the city treats all of its city buildings.
Right.
So the school department's responsible for the schools, the police takes care of police, fire takes care of fire, senior center takes care of senior center. DPW takes care of 301 Broad Street, plus the water division's buildings, plus the wastewater division's buildings, plus the cemetery buildings, plus the parks buildings. And when it comes to funding those things, it's all about each individual department, not necessarily the city building department or anything like that. I think it would be great for the city to move in the direction of having a facilities department where you've got a facilities director, and underneath the director, you have maintenance staff and custodians and different
I thought we
layers
had
of personnel.
I thought the last time around, that was sort of Russ, whatever.
We had Russ had one custodian, but the city never went in the direction of fully making that its own department, in the sense that the police still have their own custodian, the library still has their own custodian, senior center has their own custodian. DPW has no custodian, we just all pitch in and get it done. So it'd be great to have a facilities department that does take care of all these buildings and centralizes everything, so that when the janitor at the police station is out on sick leave, we can pull resources from somewhere else to make sure that building gets taken care of. Or, you know, because the DPW doesn't have a custodian, we could share some responsibilities there and get.
That would make more sense. That makes a lot of sense.
That would be sustainable. I think that all comes with a cost, and I think that's what's kind of prevented the city from moving in that direction so far. Cost, you know, because it's more staff essentially, because you've got to have that facilities director, and then probably another layer of management under there, and then all the custodians and janitors.
I guess my train of thought is probably off track, but we'll see, like Central Station, the city fire station. Now, if they had a roof leak, you know, a considerable one that was causing damage in their fire station, okay, they wouldn't have to go out and do a fundraiser, would they? The city somehow would come up with the money to steal that roof. Same thing with this building and, you know, any of these other buildings. I just don't understand why this is a city building with historical value. And,
It has a lower priority.
So
it just doesn't, the city doesn't say, okay, well, you need the roof. I'm not saying rebuild the building. I'm just saying that roof needs to be fixed, and that would cut down eventually on costs and doing repairs everywhere else. Why the city, like I say, they do the fire station, they do this, they bought the theater, well, then they buy the theater.
I'm not sure that's accurate, though. The DPW's roof leaked for,
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
We finally got the money to rebuild the roof after doing these little piecemeal projects to try to, get the design done and get OPM, and then the roof thing still leaks even after we had it redone a couple
Who
years
paid
ago.
for
DPW paid for it. We had to wait patiently until there was enough funding available, and then beg and plead and scrape together enough to get it done.
So in other words, if that fire station roof started to leak, or the police station, they'd have to go out and get funds and whatever to fix their own.
But they
city.
get grants, they get grants, they have, the police department, from what I watch on television, when they're presenting, as well as the fire department, they have people there or a person there in those two departments that look for grants, and they usually get grants. The problem, my understanding, the problem with grants is it's either a grant that is a grant, they just got the money, or it's a matching grant, which means that they get 100,000, the city has to kick in 100,000. So even though you get a grant, if it's a matching grant and the city isn't gonna kick in their portion of it, you can't accept the grant. So I don't know if they go after those kinds of grants, but I always see Chief Martineau saying, we have a grant and we can cover the grant, or you need to help us.
They do get a lot of grants, but so does DPW and parks and all that.
Yeah.
But there's no grants out there to fix roofs.
So that's what I'm saying, this wouldn't be a grant, you couldn't wait long enough for a grant. You have a major leak that's ruining the building.
But why do we have to say, well, I guess what I'm asking is it's just a maintenance. I mean, it's a repair grant. It's not and yeah, we're repairing the roof because that's the problem. So, I mean, how stupid is that? You're not gonna give me money because it's money to fix the roof. But yet you're gonna let the roof keep leaking, destroying the building, and then when the building falls apart, oh, I'm gonna get a grant to rebuild the building? I mean, look at,
I'm wondering if, I know a while back, and George talked about this earlier, but a while back, we decided not to designate the mausoleum as historical because of the added construction costs of potentially restoring it.
Yes.
But if there's a grant out there for a historic building, that will cover that extra cost, plus the cost to just fix the building and restore it. Maybe it does make sense to go down that route.
well, it does, but again, what Jacqueline just said earlier is the inventory. I don't know how would we do that, because that inventory piece that the mausoleum, that inventory that was done in 2000.
Yeah.
From the city. I really don't know.
You need to hire a grant writer to rewrite that.
Okay.
But I think when we were looking at it, that even the grants that were available, it would cost more to pay someone to file this than what the grants were available at the time. It was like 10 or 20,000, but it didn't level out.
Yeah,
But that's not to say that the state hasn't opened up different type of grants. We don't know that.
right.
Right.
Well,
They have a grant out there for like, a $2 million limit for building renovations. Maybe that's something that we
To ask
would
a
make
question
sense to do it.
of the commissioner,
yes,
on a daily,
Commissioner,
superintendent,
okay,
on a day like today, rainy, right? I mean, heavy rain.
Yeah.
Is it still coming through the roof of that mausoleum, or have they done enough temporary work on it that it prevents it coming in the roof?
we have not had any leaks coming in recently.
good.
I was gonna say, seeing how they stole the gutters, I'm just saying, is it sitting on top of it, is it sitting on the water, sitting on the roof? Seeping in eventually, or is it just?
The largest amount of water that comes in is generally when we have the snow melt.
Cause it sits up there.
Yeah.
I think the drains freeze up and then the water just sits up.
They got those,
We do have the heat take, but it just the amount of water up there. It just the freezing and thawing during that time of year, we have more water. Russ had given us some suggestions of going up there more frequently to clean out the gutters, and that seemed to alleviate some, not all of it, but some of it. But we've been pretty dry recently.
So I have a question about that because a constituent asked me this. The building, correct me if I'm wrong, when Russ was here, the mausoleum, he did not condemn it, he just closed it, correct?
Yeah,
No,
he did not condemn it or oppose it.
oh, he didn't. I thought he said we couldn't go in it.
No, we had a period of time and I'm not even sure if it was this winter, but we had a period of time that there was, heavy water that froze on the floor.
Oh, yes,
And I locked it down a few times,
okay,
just for the safety of the public.
okay,
But the building is open for families who have keys. There's no, safety issues in there at all. So it is not locked down at
Okay.
this point.
I remember that. That was not this past winter, it was the winter prior.
Yes,
I think you had some good video of the water that was coming
Yes.
in and the freezing.
Okay.
yeah, so, yeah.
so it is, I'm sorry.
It technically, is it still open?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's not open to the general public, it's open to the
Because
families
I
with
recall,
keys.
Friday Night in Fishkill History Club did a production. There's a videotape of a program that Friday Night in Fishkill History Club did inside the mausoleum.
Yeah, Lynn Goodwin,
Yes, right.
yes,
You remember? Okay.
I do remember.
Yeah, so that
Yes.
was done inside the mausoleum.
Yes, that was
With an
fantastic.
audience, with an audience.
It was fantastic, yeah.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, didn't, Trish Shabbat have her Memorial Middle School class come during Memorial Day? I remember the mayor was there one time, Mayor Natali. We were inside the mausoleum.
Yes, we've done frequent tours with schools, and especially around Memorial Day,
Right.
you know, yes.
So that was, so my question about that, the reason I asked that question was because I was speaking with Trish and she has grandparents, either grandparents or great grandparents buried in that mausoleum.
Yes.
She was gonna come to the meeting today, but she couldn't, she'll try to get here next week. And she does have a key.
Yes, she does.
So all of the people who have family members buried there, they have, do you know who has those keys?
Oh, no.
No.
No,
Okay.
I know the families that are buried there, and when they got their deed at the time, they all got a key.
Now, so
So it's gone down generations.
you don't know where those keys are?
No, they're with the family members, because only family can go in there.
And they,
Only family, unless you know, ask to go in there, then you're escorted by,
Right, yeah.
yeah, staff members.
I heard of that, that's crazy.
well, so is it, so, okay, so I'm just playing devil's advocate here. So if I have a key to
Mhm.
go in, can I go in? Well, I know you're not supposed to be in the cemetery after dark, but
Correct.
hello?
Yeah, right.
So isn't that a little kind of like dangerous to have all these keys out there with these people that can have access? Maybe we should put a lock, change the lock or something and have a master key.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was probably going to be looked at the renovation of the
Okay.
mausoleum, because even the keys that people have, they're hard to operate,
Yeah.
and that door is
Right.
very heavy. So that was potentially something we would look at, in the future, but we do have family members that, I know of, they go in every Memorial Day.
Really?
Yes,
Well, yeah, that I can see Memorial Day.
yeah,
But like on a day-to-day basis, and they don't have to contact you? to
no,
say-
they're like family members who go out to the grounds to visit
Okay.
family
All
members.
right, yeah.
They are family members of people in the mausoleum.
And I should know the answer to this question, but I do not, because another person asked. If I wanted to purchase a crypt in the mausoleum, is that the same price on our price list as an open grave, like purchasing a lot in the cemetery itself?
One, unless that renovation is complete, I will never sell anything in there.
Okay, what,
Two, the structure of the mausoleum, the crypt price, I believe, is the same. The opening charge is much different.
okay,
You know, we have to put a crypt protect, on over the, casket,
yeah,
to protect from, the insects that would come,
Okay.
even though there's
and what are you calling it, a crypt what?
crypt protect.
Project, okay.
Yeah, so the opening charge is more, the longer, crypts, we do not open them ourselves. I hire a vault company to go in there and take it out. It's 100 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And they have those special
Right.
suction cups, and I'm not gonna take that responsibility,
No, no.
because you can't replace it at this point.
No, but that's what I'm asking, okay, so.
Yeah, it's a little bit more for the crypt,
Okay,
but I've never sold one, and unless we get this renovation completed.
right,
I suggest we do not.
Yeah. So according to your records, there's like 187 available in there, which is one body or two? One body in a crypt, or can you put cremations in a crypt? Two, okay. So if you even doubled it up by cremation, that's a lot of people. I mean, that's,
It potentially could be, and I think if we are able to complete the renovation, I think you would need to look at your price structure, because if you brought this building back, I mean, it's a gorgeous building.
oh, yeah.
You would be able to get a premium price inside, right? So I think that could be addressed if we ever get there.
So one other thing that Sally suggested that we do is what we have done in the past. We've given permission. I forget now, but I remember Mrs. DiGeronimo, they did a painting. She had artists that came into the cemetery.
Yes.
Like at dawn, not dawn, dusk or something, and they did paintings. And then we've had Joy Contos has done tours there when she was living. We've had Sally Cragen and the Stratton Players do tours there. So one of Sally's ideas is maybe we should give permission to hold like a jazz night, let's say, on the lawn. Or I know, and you don't like that idea, but
It's something, if you ever look at Forest Hill in Boston, Jamaica Plain, they have like huge friends groups and they plan events.
They plan
like throughout, but obviously it would go through the board and they have to issue a permit.
yeah, and it's all,
If you do it at night, where are you gonna get the lighting?
no, it doesn't have to be at night, but I'm just saying, in other words, like a Sunday afternoon, let's say. We could do, she made a suggestion of, you might have like a 3-piece combo, or maybe just a guitarist or a harpist or something, give a 1-hour show, and then you set up chairs and they pay to come, and then that money, so they were just ideas we were kind of throwing out there, but
Actually, you can get grants for that.
well,
I
this is,
belong to a band. We play at the different farmers markets, and the people that organize it do get grants
see,
to pay for the entertainment, so
there you go.
you could get grant, I don't know what it would fall under.
I would think that would be a great project for a friends group to apply for. There are community grants, they're basically, 1 or 2 or 3, they're minimal amount, but it would be enough to hold different events.
Yeah,
So I think that would be, a great brainstorming for the friends group to do.
so we'll be working on that. I'm hoping you and George will contribute some time.
We talked about grants.
Yeah.
How essential or helpful grants are.
Yeah,
What I'd like to know, I think we as trustees would like to know, who are the grant writers in this city? Who is writing grants? The police department has, okay, you know who the various grant writers are in the city?
Well, I'm one of them.
You're one, you write.
I write grants for some DPW stuff.
Right.
James Bunnell writes a ton of grants for parks.
So,
and rec. Police station has an employee that
There
writes
is a
grants.
designated employee who writes grants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire department does.
Fire department also.
Fire department, I'm not sure if they have a dedicated employee just for grant
But
writing.
they get that, fire department has grants. And I'm glad you mentioned at the Ward 1 meeting, you were wondering how these other departments are getting these grants.
And then the community development department has several people on staff that all pitch in to help write grants
Writing grants.
and assist other departments with their grant writing and administration and all that.
So
So
we need assistance from these grant writers within the city who are paid employees to help us write grants and to
Yes.
find out.
so why should we pay a grant writer? When
Exactly.
we have, and I know the answer to my question
What is
is,
the answer? Right.
no, I don't have time.
You know what, okay, we don't have time to do that. Right.
But Andy, you said you were in contact with someone at the fire department, so I'm gonna give you my blessing for you to ask that person if, there's something they can do, even if they can help us write it, or show us, or like point us in.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of thing. I mean, I'm not asking them to sit there and do it for us, but if they could assist us, that would be helpful. So
Yeah.
maybe you can ask and then, we have one more meeting in June,
Yeah.
June 20th, and that'll be our last meeting for the summer until September. So hopefully we'll work on this over the summer months and see if we can, you know, I mean, we could always call a special meeting if we needed to, but, you know, I'd just throw that out there for that reason.
You write grants, can't you?
That's expected.
Not my specialty, I mean, I could,
Right there.
I've never seen one to write. But
We'll get
that's not saying, okay.
I mean, so some grants are a little bit more of a heavy lift than others. There's some that are very easy. It's just a basic application. Some are intense. There's a lot of documentation and cost estimating and you've got to have a pretty clear scope of work that you put forth and all that. So it really depends on the grant program as to what the requirements are.
And before we write a grant, we have to know if there's a grant available, right?
Right, we gotta go out and find the different grant
Well, that,
programs.
isn't
And
that what the
that's,
grant writer does though? Don't they search for these grants?
for the most
For the
part,
most
yeah.
part.
I mean, I know about all the grants related to some of the other DPW functions that we have, you know, water, wastewater, stormwater, that type of stuff.
And not to bring up another, well, I am gonna bring up another subject, and while we're talking about this whole thing, is. And I didn't speak with Mrs. Cronin about it, but I did speak with Calvin Brooks about it in the past, who was our previous auditor, about the endowment fund for the mausoleum. There is an endowment fund that was set up at the time. And it was his understanding, and the way he kind of said it to me is somewhere along the line, some administration dipped in
Dipped into the.
to that fund. And this was a few years back, and I think it was only like $3,500 in that fund.
That's what's there right now. And when I was going through all the history, looking for paperwork for you, I found a newspaper article that seemed to say that endowment fund had $100,000 in 1920.
1920, yeah.
So sometime, you know, whether it was during the war, they couldn't find when the funds were taken.
Right.
Because I know there was a deep dive, when, one of the treasurers was here and they were really trying to find it, and there's just no records of it, but that money was transferred out of there for it to only have $3,000. And we know since 1970, they haven't done a thing, so that money was taken.
And I spent 4 hours at the Historical Society a few Mondays ago, or whatever, Tuesdays, whatever day it was, looking for, they have the books on City of Fitchburg from 1916 to 1925. And it's like, it has the treasurer's report, it has all of the different meetings and stuff like that. And I tried to see where, did someone enter it and then put it somewhere? I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. And maybe it was even after 1925. But the mausoleum was built and started in 1918. It was dedicated in 1920. And then the people that started being buried in there were paying into this endowment fund. It had money in a fund. The other thing about that is this fund, I understand, all the city funds are held by Rollstone Bank. And there's I don't know if they're a fiduciary, whatever they are, that holds these funds, and they're in low interest bearing funds. Why couldn't we pull that fund out and put it in like a rollover CD or something? I mean, why can't somebody like that just watch that fund? I mean, you're talking 100 years and it's got $3,500 in it. Again, I can't do math in my head, but that sounds like it's not making a lot of money in there.
There's some sort of like trust commission or something within the city.
Yes, there is. They were
That
just
has to-
reappointed.
And they're the ones that manage those funds, I think. So I
Okay.
think that would be the group that you'd want to talk to try and get.
Well, I know I did speak with the treasurer, Ann Saventus, when I was speaking with Calvin Brooks, and she said, because he said, you have to go to the treasurer's office. I went to the treasurer's office and she said, we don't handle that here. It's handled by a Rollstone Bank and whoever the funds are under there. And they're all in, safe funds. They're not in high risk, money markets or whatever they are. They're all in pretty safe, which I understand. I mean, I would do that too, but if something's not growing and you're looking at it and it's been 100 years, wouldn't you say to yourself, let's take this money and put it somewhere else and see what we can do? I mean, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me how things work. Okay, all right, so,
Last thing.
yeah, let's wrap it up on
Real quick.
this topic.
I'm just saying, seeing how we're televised now. If anybody's watching that has experience in writing grants,
Yes.
would we refuse their help?
No, we would not refuse anyone who might be retired, or has a great love for historic building, or loves to write grants. Anybody that can just come to our aid, I mean, pretty much that's what we're asking, is just some assistance. So, yeah, contact one of us and come to a meeting, come to the June meeting, and we'll discuss it.
Yeah, no help will be refused.
So Councilor Cruz has offered assistance writing grants to me in the past.
Okay,
I'm not sure he would know of the grants. If we could find a grant, then I'm sure he'd be more than willing to help us write the grant. If we say, here's the grant program, here are the requirements, this is what we want. He's offered it in the past, and we could certainly take.
can I tell him you said that?
Sure.
Okay,
I think he truly wants to help him. He's
Okay.
a great man.
Well, the biggest challenge is finding what grants are out there.
yeah,
See, we're behind the eight ball as far as knowing what's available out there.
well, and that's the other thing too, and that's kind of why I wanted to speak with Petros about this, because, or at least the Spencer Group, because it's like, Lynn Spencer, who's the principal of that group, she is a preservationist, and we asked at the last meeting, could she give us some advice? Could she help us write a grant? Could she help us find a grant? We don't
She
have.
can, but her time is worth something. So
Well,
we
we're
have to
already
pay
paying
her.
her.
A lot of consultants will write grants for you pro bono, but they expect to be given the work on the back end.
Well, we have given her the work.
Right.
And we are giving her the work. We want to continue to give her work. We want that company to stay with us. We don't want to lose them, but, I mean, come on. Everything's all about the money, and when you don't have the money, what are you supposed to do? So someone, out of the goodness of their heart, maybe, will say, let me just see if I can do one thing for you and get this project, keep it moving, so that we don't have to just like dead in the water over here. I just don't get it, because I hear these meetings, there was $400,000 in ARPA funding that went out to projects, and Jacqueline, you asked that question of Liz Murphy, you said, if those projects don't go through, could we be considered for that money? And she said, they've all been accounted for. Then I find out $400,000 of that ARPA money for those projects that did not go through has been used to balance the budget. So if you can take a loan order out for a fire truck, give me a loan order for my mausoleum. This not about me, it's about the mausoleum, and it's about, we don't do it now, and it's costing $3.5 million, and you do it in 10 years, it's gonna be $20 million. I mean, everything keeps going up and up and up, so when do you stop? When do you say enough is enough? This is a one-time cash payout to get the roof fixed.
And the problem was identified more than 50 years, 1971.
71, I have the,
1970, we have documentation that this problem existed more than 50 years ago. And it's been on hold, we've been actually on hold in excess of 50 years, addressing a historic building, which is not identified as a historic building, that we cannot allow to deteriorate and be totally unusable, and we have veterans, we have actually Civil War veterans, Medal of Honor, we have a Medal of Honor I think there's a Medal of Honor.
Not in the.
Oh, he's still Laurel Hillside.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
land,
boss,
yeah.
that's boss.
He's at
He's at
Laurel.
Laurel.
Yeah.
But we have veterans, we
We
have
have
actually
two Civil
war, we have those who fought in the Civil War, World War I.
Yes.
In the mausoleum.
That we're aware of.
They're aware of.
That-
And there could be others, there could be more, there could be other veterans that were totally unaware.
Okay, so, well, I think we kind of
Yes.
covered all of that. So I just need a motion on the, number 5, which is the approval of April 18th, minutes.
Make a motion, we accept.
Okay, I need a second.
I second that.
Okay, thank you, George. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Okay, motion passes. And then the final one is the superintendent's report, so I'll let Jacqueline go ahead and speak to that.
Okay, just a few things. We are in high gear, getting set for Memorial Day. You know, between thatching, fertilizing, they've started the cutting and trimming rotation around Forest Hill. We have not gotten to the other cemeteries as of yet. We're working with 3 full-time and still the Monty Tech student that's every other week. So we are doing the best we can, but it's gonna be rough with only 3 full-time. You know, they are working hard, I can tell you that. And it seems silly that I put the mower heights at 3.5. Every machinery that cuts in any of the cemeteries, we go around and gauge them different times a year, the height. And this takes a little while to get to that 3.5 with each of the mowers. But it's super important. Like Arlington National Cemetery, they do not use a lot of chemicals because if you have the grass at that certain height, then the sun's not burning it and then you don't get the grubs. So that's why I put it on there, just to let you know, this is to save on products, but it takes a good morning to get every single piece of equipment. So it's at that height. And it's working very well. If you ever take a look at Forest Hill, it's looking pretty good. Let's see. Super busy.
Share that information with the Parks Department.
Do you know, when I first started doing this, all the grounds crew were like, here she is again. I literally went out with a ruler. They went by the office and I went like this, I'm like, and so now it's just become part of the process. And it because of the cost savings and how the grass looks, it used to be I cut grass, and it would be leveled to the point of just burning, and then here come the grubs, and then you don't have the grass again. This does work.
They
Yeah,
do,
you're absolutely right.
yeah, they do tell you, even when you buy a lawnmower, if that's the height, you should be cutting your grass at.
And depending the time of year, in the fall,
You can cut it lower.
you will go maybe a little bit lower depending on the rain in the season. And then when we do our final cut, it goes
Low.
low.
Yeah.
It goes low because then they're trying to pick up the leaves and mulch the leaves in. So I just thought it important to kind of like share why we do that. I attended the finance meeting, and then the council meeting the other night on the 13th. They passed the expenditure for the water and for the columbarium area, so we are not to exceed that $60,000. So we are all set and ready to go for that.
When do you think, I saw them over there the other day working, is that what they were doing?
No,
No, okay.
no, this project has not started as of yet, because it was just passed
Oh, right.
on the 13th, and we are running Memorial Day, so nothing's gonna happen till after Memorial Day at this point.
Engineering guys were out there doing some survey work
Oh,
this past week.
yeah, saw them over.
Oh, okay, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
They were shooting some elevations and all that.
Okay.
Get
All right.
some numbers.
and I'm glad at the council meeting, I think it was the council motion asked what to call their, as far as terminology.
Oh.
You define what a columbarium is. And I'm sure a lot of people out there have no idea what a.
No, you're right, I just assume people do.
No,
Yeah,
but it's good that you are actually, define what it is. For them.
thank you. So the Adopt a Veteran, flag holders, we purchased 180 of them, 160 went out on the grounds. The gentleman put them out there. We did, section 6B, section N left, N right, M left, and M right. So, another 160 are out on the grounds, for this year. Just a side note that's not on here, Steve Twining, in all his work with the Civil War veterans,
Oh, yeah.
he has, folders and folders of information of the Civil War veterans, buried throughout Fitchburg, not just in Forest Hill, but all our cemeteries. And Sharon came and gave me all that information, so, at some point, if we can get them scanned and into the database, then I told her I would pass them on to the Historical Society.
Oh, okay.
So that's the plans, you know, to have a little, information that Steve put together, we might as well not put it to waste. And I have a few pictures here. There's a picture of the mausoleum, the downspouts were installed, they look fantastic.
Yeah, I know, I saw that.
Yeah, so they match, what would have been there,
Yeah,
but they're just aluminum, so it's not,
Yeah.
it's not a theft factor.
okay, well, that's good, because we needed something there to help that.
Yep, in the next picture here, I have two pictures of the podium that you approved for the Memorial Gardens.
Oh, yeah.
The bench and the trees. So that area, we need to do some overseeding, obviously, you can see the grass isn't totally there.
Is the podium gonna stay outside all the time?
Yeah, it's granite,
Yeah.
yep. Mhm. And then in the Memorial Gardens in section 3, we have the bench and the two trees there.
Mhm.
And then I just have some pictures of the gentleman, there was, over a dozen stumps, that were ground down, and then they put some loam and some seed. Some of these trees were taken down by Unitil, and some of them were taken down prior to, but the stumps were left behind, so we've cleaned up a bunch of, the stumps that were in the cemetery. And that's all I have.
I think that is it. Does anybody have any questions for Jacqueline on her report?
On the bench, how long is what are the dimensions of it? I mean, you know roughly how wide the bench is? I'm looking at the photo.
Yeah. The bench, I
I'm thinking, it
believe, is like,
looks like two people can sit there.
yeah,
Normal.
I think it's like 4 feet, maybe,
Well-
maybe a little bit, I don't have the exact dimensions, but
Is it similar to the one that's over by the park line?
they are, there's one little difference on the seat. The company changed it, it's got like a little
Lip.
lip, but all the benches are all the same throughout the cemetery. Yep.
Yeah. That sits about 2 people, because we go over there.
Yeah, 2 people fit on there. Yeah. Mhm.
I did just want to ask, about the stone that we had you heard anything back about,
I have not heard back
so,
from them, they haven't placed a stone there yet.
okay,
Yeah,
just curious as to
yeah,
what was going on, yeah.
The procedure is actually for people who want to buy a bench. They have their name, the family name is actually imprinted on the back of it. I see the name that's printed on.
yes, correct, so, we have on our price sheet, they can adopt, they can,
Or they-
have a memorial bench or trees, so we have that option for them. As far as the inscription on the bench,
Yeah,
they fill out a form,
yeah.
so I can check to make sure nothing's vulgar, they can put what they want.
Oh, really?
But it comes through my office as far as
You have to-
what is on the
You
bench.
have to put the wording.
Yeah, exactly, because we have one in the other section that says in loving memory of mother, and there's some different verbiage on there, so they can put what they want, they pay for the inscription. It's just approved by me through the office.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, so if there are no further questions or concerns about Jacqueline's report, I will ask for,
Should we accept the report
Thank
as
you.
read?
Andy made the motion to accept.
I second the motion.
Thank you, George. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I don't have an announcement on you, but I will just, say that I'm going to, reach out again to, Counselor Schultz to see, he did say that he may be able to attend the June meeting because it's at the end of the month and his classes, I think he thinks his classes will be over, but he won't know until then, so. And, if I have any other further information, from Sally, I will, I'll just send it in an email as to keep you abreast of what we're doing, that sort of stuff. So does anybody else have any questions or concerns?
Well, would it be, good? I plan to be at the preservation, the meeting.
Yes, I'm coming as well.
Yeah, and I think we should bring up that subject, if we're allowed to bring up the subject of
Well, you know,
preservation.
I was wondering,
Historic preservation.
we're not on the list.
We're on the list.
No, but is there a list of buildings? Because I didn't see that.
No.
Or can we write in our building?
Why can't we do that?
Well, so if you go on to the Historical Society's website, there is a, like an ad about the preservation of May being preservation, historic preservation month. And then there's a link you click on, and I think that's either that or in your comments, you can designate. We're gonna be calling this the Forest Hill Abbey
Yes.
Mausoleum. That's its in rightful name, right? Forest Hill
That's
Abbey.
in 1918, that's what they named it.
Yeah, so Forest Hill Abbey Mausoleum, I usually put the mausoleums in parentheses, but everybody knows it as mausoleum, so maybe we could at least get 3 votes. Or 4 votes.
No, all people responded to that, actually, I'd say that they declare,
Yeah,
because I already responded to that.
oh, you did, okay.
But I designate another building in the city that's historic, yeah,
Oh, okay,
on River Street, yeah.
oh, the mill,
But I'm
yeah.
gonna look back, and actually, I'm gonna add, actually,
Yeah.
the ad.
Yeah, that one. All right, well, the next meeting will be held, June 20th. 2024 at 9 a.m. here in the West Meeting Room, first floor of City Hall. It'll be our last meeting until the September meeting. So anything that you want to share, you can just email me. And I'll get it on the agenda for September, or if you want to come to Historical Society meeting when we figure out when we're gonna do that, I'll send an email out, and anybody that wants to join us could join us there. Okay, I'm speaking of here. So I'll ask for an adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, George. Second by Andy, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. We're adjourned at 10:45 a.m. Thank you.